Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. My goodness, where do you even begin after a flurry of things happening around the world? It's really hard to decide exactly what to focus on. So maybe what I'll do here is just to give you my take on a few of the things that are going on and what may be transpiring. First of all, a second Malaysian Airlines plane down. After passing over the area of conflict with Russia and Ukraine, initially thought to be a crash, now supposedly being shot down. I'll tell you what, I'm so freaking cynical. I really am. I'm so cynical these days that, you know, I don't even know what to believe. Whether the plane was shot down or even if it fucking exists. Okay? So, you know, I don't know. I got to go with whatever I can to try to piece together some kind of sense to the nonsensical, fucking fucked up world that we live in right now. Okay? So, first of all, that's the second Malaysian airline. Of course, the first one, well known, everybody's been talked about for ever and ever and ever, completely missing, vanished without a trace, and supposedly all the people were lost with it. This one, another Malaysian Airlines plane. I had speculated previously that perhaps this may be the start of a destabilization effort against Malaysia as well, which brings me to talking about the situation with Ukraine and Russia, and Crimea, and also we're going to get to Israel. But let's have a look here. We're looking at this plane supposedly being shot down, okay? Both Russia and Ukraine, the official governments are denying it. Poroshenko, the asshole in charge of Ukraine now, illegally, I might add, says that it was terrorists that are operating within that area. Now, of course, you know, that's a label for anything nowadays. You know, whatever the fuck I think happened with whatever the fuck, I could just say terrorism, and that's it. I wash my hands of the whole fucking thing. So, also, you know, the plane goes down at the same time as the ground offensive that Israel was undertaking against Hamas in Gaza. So it's certainly convenient, if nothing else, to divert headlines away from the activities of Israel. Now, you know, it's really hard to believe in coincidences anymore, okay? Because when you see things that are happening, and when you see the strange connections and synchronicities that happen in association with them, it makes it very difficult for you to have a bedrock position that you can take on any issue, at least from my perspective. Okay, so what do I think is happening here? I told you about MH-17 before. I think this fucking thing is never going to be found. Although I'm going to reiterate that there are people who know exactly what happened to that plane and exactly what happened to those people, if in fact they ever fucking existed. Now, I'm talking about a philosophical perspective that penetrates your fucking mind after a certain time, okay? It's a deep-seated form of cynicism that I have, because when I look around me and I see the utter atrociousness and the continued embracing of idiotic, lunatic, and insane ideas that absolutely blanket our culture nowadays, I have to say to myself, what is this? So I'm deeply cynical about everything. So the plane goes down, shot down, and it's shot down on the anniversary of TWA 800 as well, which is another massive conspiracy. Okay, my own personal take, shot down by mistake by the Navy. Okay, refuse to admit it and come up with some ridiculous fucking story that, you know, it's the same thing as 9/11 and JFK and the whole rest of it. But the idea is that over time it seems as though they reach a point where they don't even want to, like, give you a backstory on anything more. They just say, plane shot down by blah, blah, and that's it. You know, so you never know what the fuck is going on anywhere. You know, it's just like that they just have a very surface cover story that they put on everything anymore. That if you dig into it a little bit deeper, you find all this weird stuff. Like there was a person on MH-370, and then he had a close relative that died on MH-17. Okay, so, you know, there were people who were supposed to be on and swapped at the last minute, including flight attendants and things of this nature. The other thing that's really weird about this is a whole bunch of AIDS researchers went down in that plane as well, and they're saying now that that's going to really cripple AIDS research, because a lot of those people were very involved in trying to come up with cures and things of that nature. Now, I don't know what to make of that, but it's certainly very interesting, and you need to put a checkbox next to that, because it might prove to have some value at some point in the future, whenever you can try to make sense of all this fucking craziness that's happening everywhere. And of course, my own personal opinion when it comes to Ukraine is that, and I'll tell you what I think they are trying to accomplish there. Yanukovych was forced out, okay, illegally. He was removed from government, okay. They established the government that they have now in Ukraine, which is illegal. Yet you have the West supporting them, putting sanctions on Russia, trying to push them further into a corner. Thankfully, Putin is not biting on any of this shit, at least not yet. He's keeping a calm head, and thank God for that, because there are no end of motherfucking jackoffs in this fucking country who would, in 2 fucking seconds, launch every fucking nuclear missile there is and blow up the whole fucking planet. And they would do it with fucking glee in their motherfucking eyes. Because apparently, this entire government is completely flooded with nonsensical, insane motherfuckers that all they want to do is fucking burn shit down and blow fucking things up and kill people. And I'm fucking sick of it, okay? It just gets really tedious and horrific after a while. It's hard for you to even contemplate and grasp the idea. So, I think they made a push to further Balkanize the region, right in the area of the Balkans where you get that term, Balkanization, to cause these countries to break apart, to try to encroach further on Russia. Okay, so whatever's happening there, this is probably, the shoot down of the plane is probably something that was concocted by the West in some fashion, and they'll probably come up with some kind of ridiculous story that they have no proof for that they ever present for anything, okay? They will not present one shred of proof, but someone will come out in the government of the United States, okay, and they will declare definitively that Russia shot down that plane, okay? Meanwhile, they will offer no proof. This is my prediction. They will offer no proof. They'll come on and say, they did it, that's it, case solved, done deal. And everybody's just going to sit back with their stupid mainstream media pouring into their eyes, boiling their fucking brains, and just walk around their life, just accept it as reality. Or not even give a shit about it. Okay? Because that's the way the world works now. The vast majority of the people still are living in some sort of slumber, which they refuse to wake up from it. And I can't blame them. Okay? So this is more provocation in my view. If it even happened. If it even happened. If any of it is even true that we're being told. Okay? I say this was an action of the West and NATO to bring down that plane. Blame it on Russia, which they will. Later they will say it was Russia that did it, even though they will offer you no shred of proof. Just like when they supposedly killed Osama bin Laden when he was dead for a fucking decade. Or more. Already. Yeah, we killed him. By the way, no proof, no pictures, no nothing. Period. And then we'll kill the SEAL Team 6 guys that supposedly did it. In case they decide to say, hey, you know what? That raid never took place. And I was never fucking there. Or we went and did something, but it had nothing to do with Osama bin Laden. Okay? They just lie to you boldface. Give you no proof. So watch out for that in the future. Russia brings down MH-17. They killed all those people. And there will be no proof, but it will be talked about and expressed as if it is absolutely determined fact. So that's the way I see that going. What's going on with Israel? They're taking advantage of the continued war in Syria and all of the other stuff that is going on in the Middle East, particularly ISIS, ISIL, whatever the fuck you want to call these motherfuckers, which just seem to come out of the clear blue sky and doing their fucking thing over there, whatever that happens to be. But I can guarantee you one thing, someone's controlling that group, and it's probably the West. Because the West has a track history of breaking countries up, of causing strife, civil war, turmoil, and basically destroying countries' infrastructure. So that you have a bunch of different groups that end up, like in Iraq, you have the Kurds, you have the Shiites, you have the Sunnis, you have all these different groups that are vying for the health of their own community, and eventually it's going to result in confrontation and the breakup of countries. And that's what the West is always pushing for, because it makes those other countries, if nothing else, it makes those other countries smaller, less powerful, and of no significance and no threat to the Imperial United States Incorporated, the motherfucking empire of fucking death and destruction. Thank you very much. So Israel's taken advantage of that. Now, I have in the past criticized Israel many times, and I'm going to criticize them again, believe me. Okay? I don't care where these fucking terrorists are in Gaza. Okay? If they're hiding, that's if even they're true. Okay? Now, they act as though Hamas is like invading Israel. They're blowing up Tel Aviv and thousands are fucking slaughtered. You know, let me just say this right off the bat, okay? One death is too many, okay? I don't care if it's an Israeli, I don't care if it's a Palestinian, I don't care who it is, all right? One death is too many. Everybody deserves to live, and I abhor death, okay? I don't think anybody just on the face of it deserves death. Okay, yes, some people do, you know, criminals or whatever, you know, or someone who tries to kill you, self-defense, blah, blah, blah. I ain't going into all that. Okay, but the point of it is, okay, a couple Israelis die with these rocket attacks, okay, from some, what are these rockets? I never even see them, don't even know where they land, have no idea what kind of damage they cause, but the media says, oh, it's terrible terrorism, destroying everything, okay? I do not condone anybody engaging in acts of terrorism or violence against anybody else, and that includes the fuckers in Hamas or any other group, okay? But you know what? The same fucking rules apply to you, fucking Israel, alright? If they're hiding inside a fucking hospital, that doesn't mean you get to blow up the motherfucking hospital. Okay? But more importantly, are they hiding in that hospital? Or do you just want to destroy their infrastructure more, which you continue to do every time you engage in one of these offensives? And we both know that Bibi Netanyahu, the most right-wing motherfucking cocksucker that ever existed, tied with a whole bunch of people, okay, is a warmonger, will never accept this two-state solution, and it is very clear that Israel regards everybody that is in the quote-unquote occupied territories as a terrorist. So they don't give a shit who they murder. But, guess what? The United States doesn't give a shit who they fucking murder either. Drone strikes and collateral damage. And what about all the millions that were murdered in Iraq and Afghanistan? Huh? And everywhere else we put our fucking imperial boot. So fuck you, Israel, and I'll tell you what, you're no better than the motherfucking terrorists that you either made up or that you're supposedly going after, okay? If you can't engage in any kind of rational, reasonable response, and instead at some rockets that may or may not have killed people, that may or may not have caused some property damage, okay? And then you go in and do everything that you're doing there. And again, because of my cynicism, I don't even know if anything is happening over there. Because I do not trust the media. I do not trust it at all. And in fact, the media may be entirely fucking made up, as far as I'm concerned. All of it. So, we may be just talking about possibilities and ideas that have no basis in reality. Do you exist? Do I exist? Does anything exist? I warned you. Really cynical. So, what to make of all this? I think that there are moves that are going on. Okay, there's a continued push by the West, by NATO forces, by the Imperial United States Corporation, okay, through all of its auxiliaries and cutouts and subsidiary organizations, to continue the destabilization program in the Middle East and anywhere else they can do it, all the way up through Russia, so that we can, and I say we just to refer to the corporate United States, not to the people here, because there are a lot of people here who are sick to death of what this corporate entity of the United States is doing. So they're continuing their program, and perhaps some things are spinning a little bit out of control as well. Because if in fact we are in a reality that is falling apart, it may be that the people who are supposedly controlling things behind the scenes, maybe stuff is flying out of their control as well. So, if that's the case, we can expect much more chaos. More war and slaughter in Gaza between Israel and the supposed Hamas terrorists hiding out there, while they also, whatever civilians they kill, fuck it, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Okay? Does Hamas really represent a threat to Israel? An existential threat? I don't think so. Does Iran? I don't think so. So, to engage in the kind of activities that they're doing with bombing, using experimental munitions apparently as well, supposedly inert, dense metal, okay, which can have significant health effects on people. They have used white phosphorus in the past. Okay? They don't give a shit about any kind of conventions. They don't give a shit about any kind of rules of war, although that's kind of an oxymoron if I ever fucking heard one. Okay? Trying to make civilized that which is the most uncivilized thing that there ever was. So I know I've been all over the map. Okay? I tried to touch on some of the issues that are going on. And hopefully I'll have more in-depth coverage of these separate things as I look more deeply into them. But it's really hard to focus on one thing, and it's really hard to do research because something new keeps coming, and it keeps coming, and it keeps coming. And it's just overwhelming at times. So what I'm going to tell all of you is be cynical and be skeptical of everything that you see and everything that you hear from any media source, including me, if I'm one of your media sources. Okay? Be skeptical of everything. So, that's all for today. Thank you. Good night.